Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I welcome all of you for this particular session of a book, article, and movie review. And I'm very fortunate to have all of you here inside my mind, and I really appreciate that almost all of you have submitted your video review pertaining to books, articles, movies, etc. So in this particular class sessions, there's no lecture. What we're going to do that, all of you are going to watch your friends' presentations, and I know there are a lot. You need a lot of time for this, so you can. I'll give you the time for you not to complete the whole task by today. It depends. It depends. You can watch it in the few weeks to come, inshallah. So consider this as one part of the class. Try to understand, and I hope you can learn many things from you, and I also will learn a lot of things from you, inshallah. So if anything, let me know. If any problems or issues, or you want to express yourself pertaining to the things, you just mention it in Google Classroom or any other means, inshallah. So let us enjoy, inshallah.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Sarah Munira binti Karami, first year dietetics student. Today, I'm going to review an article with the title of Disciplining Your Children with Special Needs. For information, I found this article on kidhealth.org from NIMR's website. This article was written on September 2015 by Larissa Hirsch. So who is Larissa Hirsch? She is a pediatrician in New York and has been in practice for 11 to 20 years. Basically, this article tells us about how to discipline the children with special needs. So who are the children with special needs? An editor named Julia Kagan said that a special need child is a youth who has been determined to require special attention and specific necessities that other children do not. Their condition and impairment can include chronic and terminal illness, physical impairment, and cognitive or psychiatric issues. Some of them have mental retardation, which causes them to develop more slowly compared to other children, speech and language impairment such as problem expressing themselves and understanding others. Also physical disabilities such as vision problem, cerebral palsy, and other conditions. What experts call behavior management is not about punishing or demoralizing the kids. Instead, it is a way to set boundaries and communicate expectation in a loving and nurturing way. Discipline here means correcting kids' action, showing them what's right and wrong, what's acceptable and what's not. In fact, this is one of the most important way that all parents can show their kids that they love and care about them. I'm going to share 5 tips on the topic. First and foremost, in disciplining these kind of children, the parents must be consistent. Correcting kids is about establishing manner, whether that is setting a morning routine or dinner time manners. And then, teaching them to meet those expectations. All kids, regardless of their needs and abilities, crave this consistency, where they can predict what will happen next in the day. They feel comfortable and safe. So, parents must be patient and consistent in training them. The second one is, the parent must learn about their children's condition. To understand their behavior, they have to understand what are the things that affect it, including their condition. No matter what challenges their children are facing, they have to learn as much about the unique medical, behavioral, and psychological factors that affect his or her development by reading information, asking the doctors, and share experiences with other parents that are in the same situation. Next, use rewards and consequences. The parents can work within a system that include reward, which is positive reinforcement for good behavior, and natural consequences for bad behavior. Natural consequences is the punishment that are directly related to the behavior. For instance, if the child is throwing food, the parent should take away the plate. In spite, scolding is acceptable, but it has limitation. Therefore, all parents should know how to handle their children in different kind of situation. Besides, parents are encouraged to use clear and simple messages. For kids with special needs, this may require more than just telling them. Parents may need to use pictures, role-playing, gestures to be sure that the children knows what he or she is working toward. Keep verbal and visual language simple, clear and consistent. By doing this, the children can understand better and help improving their communication skills. Last but not least, parents must have belief in their children. When they believe that the children can do something, they will empower and encourage them to reach that goal. The same is true for behavior. For example, if the child is playing too aggressive with other kids, don't stop the play altogether. Instead, work with them to limit the physicality of the play. Whatever the parents do, don't give up on the child when the things going tough. In conclusion, different child encounter different way to handle. How hard the situation is, the parent must try their own best to get their children's attention. So, that's all from me. I hope that my article review can help all of you to gain new knowledge. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Abah Muhammad Dini bin Abah Madihan and my metric number is 1714439. So right now I want to review the article wrote by Irene Kuat Simchia from the Department of Pediatrics in Kuala Lumpur Hospital and Chu Wan Yuan from the Julius Center University, Malaya and Department of Social and Preventive Medicine, University Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. They conduct a review of research on child abuse in Malaysia. The aim of the review was to summarize published literature on child abuse and neglect and its consequences in Malaysia. WHO recognized child abuse as having broad implications for human development and the prevention of public health problems. It is an important cause of childhood morbidity in terms of its impact on physical health and disability, emotional health and healthy child development. The impact of this matter might not limit to individual but also on society from the effect on family, psychosocial consequences, juvenile delinquency, substance abuse and crime. Malaysia had ratified the Convention of the Right of the Children (CRC) since 1995, which recognized the universally accepted right of the child. The Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development has been tasked by the government to lead and coordinate issues regarding women, family and children. In the past, our community often perceived cases of child abuse to be isolated case rather than part of widespread phenomenon. Resulting child maltreatment did not receive widespread attention until late 80s, when a few high-profile child abuse cases were highlighted in the media. Then government introduced Child Protection Act in 1991. Since this act implemented in Malaysia, doctor must have to report any suspected child abuse case to the relevant authorities. This act has been superseded by the Child Act 2001 in an attempt to deal more effectively with issues relating to children. Under this act, child abuse is defined as the child has been or is at substantial risk of being physically or emotionally injured or sexually abused or neglected in terms of adequate care, food, shelter, clothing, medical attention, supervision and safety, or abandonment or others such as being on the street or used for begging by the parents or persons in charge of the child at any one time. Plus, there is mandatory reporting for all cases of suspected child abuse by doctors, family members and childminder under this act. Early hospital-based studies indicate that low socioeconomic status, family disharmony or disruption, and divorce or separated parents, personality disorder, and parental substance abuse were associated with child physical abuse. Another study conducted and confirmed in KL General Hospital showed that socio-demographic factors surrounding child sexual abuse, including being female, absence of another adult at home, unemployment, and history of drug abuse among the perpetrators. Ahmad and colleague conduct a study on interview the incest survivors and found that hardship and financial difficulties faced by the families forced the parent, especially the mothers, to work long duration of hours. This may cause children to be unsupervised by their mothers, allowing fathers to take advantage of their time alone with their children to sexually abuse them. Community-based studies investigating risk factors of child maltreatment remains lacking. Moreover, low regard of child relationship with parents might reflect poor parenting style and poor paternal attachment or impact parental bonding, which has an indirect causal relationship with maltreatment. Management of the abused child involves looking at child safety such that to prevent further abuse as well as that related to the rehabilitation of the child or family. There are multidisciplinary teams called Suspected Child Abuse and Neglect, or known as SCAN, and one-stop crisis center within hospital where the health worker attend to emotional, psychological, and physical health needs of the child, psychodynamic of the family. And psychodynamic of the family. The police and legal agency focus into legal protection of the child and the prosecution of perpetrators. Last but not least, it is well documented that abused children experience psychological problems such as depression, anxiety, regressive or withdrawal behaviors, self-harm, post-traumatic stress disorder in prospective studies. Specifically, reviews have suggested that survivors of child sexual abuse are significantly at risk of a wide range of medical, psychological, behavioral, and sexual disorders. That is all my review for this article. If you find this article is interesting, you can refer to the attached article PDF format, and thank you for listening.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will review an interesting book that I read about family. The title of the book is The 7 Habits of the Highly Effective Families, written by the best-selling author Stephen R. Covey. He holds an MBA from Harvard and a doctorate from Brigham Young University. Dr. Covey is the author of several acclaimed books, including this book, which has been at the top of the bestseller for over 7 years. More than 10 million copies have been sold in 28 languages and 70 countries. His book, Principle-Centered Leadership and First Thing First, are two of the best-selling business books of the decade. The book provides great insight on how to operate as a cohesive family unit. It is about how and why for a family to have family meetings, the importance of keeping promises, how to balance individual and family needs, and how to move from dependence to interdependence. His message is written with sincerity and simplicity, and even the most career-driven individuals should feel passionate about family after reading this book. This book not only describes the principle of creating a happy family culture, but in every chapter it contains numerous real-life examples of these habits work and the results produced. What makes this book particularly effective is the helpful list of ideas at the end of each chapter that make sharing the ideas and concept with children easy and enjoyable. Dr. Covey obviously has practiced what he preaches and knows what that entails. The 7 habits of highly effective families that are written by the author in this book are: Habit 1, be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit 3, put first thing first. Habit 4, think win-win. Habit 5, seek to understand, then to be understood. Habit 6, synergize. And habit 7, sharpen the saw. I want to summarize 3 habits out of 7 that are good to take notes in this book. So, I will start with the habit 4, 5 and habit 6. Habit 4, think win-win. The next 3 habits are explained by Dr. Covey as the roots and the fruit. By seeking win-win arrangement or situation, habit 4 emphasizes the mutual benefit when both people are satisfied. This nurturing attitude, when cultivated consistently, is the root from which the next habits grow. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Following from previous habit, this habit is the way, the root or method for deep interaction. This habit allows us to step out of our own paradigm and embrace with understanding and empathy. Habit 6, synergize. Finally, synergizing is the fruit, the effort made from the previous habits. Through practicing this habit, compromise becomes a way of daily living and loving. So, there are some improvements that we can do for this book. First improvement is the whole 7 habits framework sometimes get very confusing. For example, when the author mentioned things like using habit 1, 2 and 3. So sometimes we cannot remember what the habit that the author wants to explain, and we need to go back to the previous page to see what it is. So instead of mentioning habit 1, habit 2 and so on, the author can mention what is habit 1 in every sentence that he mentioned. For example, habit 1 is to be proactive. So the next improvement that we can do, as you know, this book is by American author, so there is no Islamic perspective about family in this book, but there are some points that we can relate with the teaching of Rasulullah and verses from the Quran. Perhaps we can put some insight from Islamic perspective as we read this book, such as hadith about the importance of keeping promises, practicing acts of forgiveness, and always practice apologizing if we do wrong with family members. All in all, I highly recommend this book to anyone who wants to proactively shape their family life for the better. You would not regret reading this book from front to back. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Hi, my name is Afifah. Today I want to do a review about film that related to the family. The film title is Miracle in Cell Number 7. This film is a 2013 South Korean comedy drama film starring by Yoo Seung-ryong, Kang So-won and Park Shin-hye. This film is very sad film. Before I continue, let's see the teaser together.
이번 살인 사건은 현 경찰청장을 겨냥한 어복성 살인 사건으로
형법 287조 미성년자 약취 유인죄.
안녕하세요. 이영구 1961년 1월 18일 태어났어요. 재앙절개. 엄마 아팠어요. 내 머리 커서.
이 상태 왜 이래 이거? 뭐 필요한 거 있어?
이영구 딸 예슬 보고 싶어요.
형님 어쩔 거예요?
고마워요. 고마워.
여기는 학교예요, 학교.
학교 아니야, 감옥. 다 나쁜 사람들.
형님 이거 아닙니다. 이러다가 걸리면은 광복주의 특사 보고 다 날라간다니까.
와, 예쁘다.
아빠 딸로 태어나서 고맙습니다.
A father who is mentally handicapped but loves his daughter very much is falsely accused of a crime and sent to the prison. The reason why he went to the prison is because he was trying to help a little girl who was laying on the ground unconsciously, and the father is trying to perform CPR on her. A woman who walks by then called the police. The father is accused of kidnap and murder. The father of the dead girl is also the chief of the National Police Agency. He is given the death penalty and incarcerated. In prison, he shares a jail cell with 5 other inmates. Then, he builds friendship with them. One day, he saved the life of his cellmate from a rival prison gang leader. So, his cellmate then offers to help him in any way he can to return the favor. He tells the cellmate that he wants to see his daughter again. The 5 inmates then plan to make a miracle happen and help him to see his daughter again by smuggling her into the prison. Later, his daughter, who is a law student, works to prove his innocence. This film is based on the real-life story of a man who was tortured and pleaded guilty under duress to the rape and murder of a 9-year-old girl on 27 September 1982 in Chuncheon, before being finally exonerated in November 2008. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Elfrina and today I will be reviewing about a book called Cookie by Jacqueline Wilson. So Jacqueline Wilson was my favorite author, and I started reading her book when I was around 11 to 12 years old. That was about 10 years ago, as you can see by how old this book really is right now. So this book is about the girl called Beauty. This is her. And she's bullied at school just by the way she looks, the way she dresses, and just because of her personality by a girl named Sky. So Sky, instead of calling her Beauty, she was called as Ugly in her school. At home, her life is just another story. Her mom is a very beautiful woman who loves Beauty to bits and just love her the way she is, and her dad is a businessman. However, her dad is the kind of person who gets ticked off by the littlest thing. For example, if she asks Beauty and her mom to spin around and they didn't spin, then he will get so mad. That's why her mom and Beauty live in fear every day. This book took a turn when her dad decided to hold a birthday party, and her friend Rona gave Beauty a rabbit. One day, Beauty found out that her rabbit died and the killer was her dad. So that was the last straw for Beauty and her mom. So that night, her mom and Beauty decided to pack their stuff and left without the dad knowing. So they left to the seaside, and the rest of the story you have to read the book to know. The reason why I chose this book for my book review assignment is because I remember that it taught the young me that even parents can hate their own children. And this is shown by Mr. Cookson, who sometimes hate and shout at her for absolutely no reason, just to let his anger out. He also even had the heart to kill his daughter's rabbit just because he hates it. And this has led Mrs. Cookson to leave him because she sees him as a threat to herself and to Beauty's. And sometimes a broken family can even traumatize a young child. But however, in this case, Mrs. Cookson leaving Mr. Cookson is a good thing because it means that Beauty can live her life the way she wanted. This book has also taught me that a parent will do anything so that their children will live a better life. And this is shown by Mrs. Cookson, who willingly left behind her life of luxury so Beauty can live the life that she wanted without fear of her dad getting mad at her. Would I recommend the book Cookie for you guys to read? The answer will be yes. This is because I believe that even though the book Cookie is for children, we as an adult can still learn something from it. We might be able to see things that children wouldn't see when they were reading the book. For example, when I read this book again for my book review assignment, it got me thinking. Probably Mr. Cookson didn't hate beauty, but it's just because he has so much expectation for beauty to fulfill. So when beauty didn't exceed or match his expectation, he will get really angry easily. And one of the way for him to project that feeling is by hitting her and just pushing her so that he can release his anger. So this is the end of my book review, and I hope you had enjoyed. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I started my video, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Afza Shakirah binti Salihuddin. Last 2 weeks, I watched a movie from a Netflix named The Blind Sides. The movie is based on the true story of Lin and Tui, starred by Sandra Bullock and Sin Tui, who takes in a homeless African-American teenage boy named Michael Orr. Michael has no idea who his father is and her mother is a drug addict. Michael had a little formal education and a few skills to help him learn. So basically, Michael Orr is a homeless and traumatized boy who became the most famous All-American football player with the help of caring woman and her family. Well, in this movie, it depicts the importance of the family. First, having a healthy family is a blessing. Parents and children have to work together in order to raise a happy and healthy family. Sandra Bullock took a strong effort in changing Michael Orr from troublesome life to the better. She brought Michael to her family as one of their own. There is one scene from the Thanksgiving dinner where Sandra Bullock cooked a bunch of foods and she only put the foods on the counter in the kitchen. All family members took their own foods and ate it while watching the TV. And then she saw Michael Orr sitting alone on dining table while eating his food. And since then, the whole family eating on the same table and practicing as a one happy and healthy family. Second, family is and will always stand behind you when no one's with you. When Michael was transferred into his new schools, everyone was avoiding him because he was the only black and huge guy at the school. When no one wanted to be his friends, her sister from the Tui family got his back. She always stayed by Michael's side and always accompanied and studied together in the library. Family is not always a blood relative. Different color does not mean you cannot stay together, especially as a family. And the last one, family will always protect you. In this movie, Michael was lacking in education, but he got a high score in protective instinct. He was being so protective and responsible towards his family member. He even can risk his life in order to protect his family. When Mike drove for the first time with his little brother, they got into the accident. He risked his life protecting his little brother, or otherwise his little brother will die in the accident. In reality, even you fight with your sibling every day, you're still being very protective and responsible towards their life because your love between your siblings are unconditional love.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ain Farhani binti Azizi, and today I will be doing a review on a book written by Sharif Hadi Mashah, Menjadi Ibu Bapa Jenius berdasarkan nasihat Luqman Al-Hakim. In the early part of the book, the author mentioned the bibliography of Luqman Al-Hakim. What is his full name, where does he come, why he is chosen as one of the best person in Islam with the best parenting tips. And there is even a whole surah named after him, Surah Luqman. Okay, so Luqman's way of education his children has become a model of Quran's family education, which should be followed and applied by all of Muslim family. So now I will share to you some of the important aspects that that were highlighted by the author on why Luqman al-Hakim sets a good example on parenting. The first lesson that is taught by Luqman al-Hakim to his children is the introduction about the Creator. It is mentioned in verse 13, chapter 31, and mentioned, O Muhammad, when Luqman said to his son while he was instructing him, O my son, do not associate anything with Allah. Indeed, association with Him is great injustice. Why the introduction about the Creator, about Allah, is really important, because when we know the character of Allah, when we know the good names, the attribute of Allah, it could prevent us from doing shirk. And it is really important for us to instill, to teach our children as early as during their childhood phase about who is the Creator of them. The second lesson that is given by Luqman al-Hakim to his children is to always practicing good manners. In verse 19, Surah Luqman, it is recorded that Luqman said, and soften your voice, verily the bad noise is the voice of a donkey. So Luqman has always trained his children from an early age to always practicing good manners, to always be careful with the word that you use, and to always think before we act. So the author also quote a hadith riwayat Muslim. It is a Muslim if his tongue is not awakened and hurt his brother, which support what has Luqman said earlier. That show a real Muslim character will always practicing good manner whenever he go. And the author also said that a good parent not only will advise his children to practice good manners, but also the parent will become a role model that show how to practice good manners, how do we communicate with each other in a good manner. In conclusion, Luqman al-Hakim wisdom is reflected through his message to his son. The moral development that will instill to his son is a complete and comprehensive teaching which covers all of the aspects of faith, worship, and morality. At the end of the day, parents' duty has always been challenging. Therefore, one must be prepared mentally and physically. Inshallah, that's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today I would like to make a review about the article that I have read on how to be a modern parent. Okay, so basically this article is talk about the modern parenting style. The sentence I love to share with you guys is, there is no right way to raise a child. So I have got 4 points in this article, which is a very important point. So let's move to the first point. First point is we're talking about conquering the basics. So what is the basics? The basics in this article talk about the sleep, how to put your baby to sleep. The second one is bedtime, which is the controlling the device or gadget time. And the third one is feeding time or feeding way, how to manage for picky children and type of food. Okay. The very good point that I take from the feeding time is they say don't cook special meals for picky child. So you can read this article for more information. Alright, so for the second point is in discipline. So in discipline, they have touched bullying issue, they have touched gender, morality, and academic pressure. So in bullying issue, there's a lot of things how to manage if your children has bullying issue. So the gender, how a children see a gender in themselves. Are they a boy? I am a boy or I am a girl. So this author said children have see this gender as evolving concept. Do you want to know what is the evolving concept? You can read this article. So about the morality. The morality, children actually learn the values by watching how the parents right. The fourth one is academic pressure. So what should parents do if the children get the pressure on his or her academic? So do parents have to give a support or give more pressure for their children to give their best on getting the highest mark. What should parents do? The author said we should celebrating efforts, not smarts. So the third point is the very important point as we living in a modern era. So it's about the technology. Okay, so if you talk about the technology, what is the important? Important thing is about the screen time. Okay, it is important to practice what you preach. Okay, as Rasulullah said, "Aslih nafsak wad'u ghayrak." So we have to practice first before we preach to others, as others will look to ourselves as we have done what we thought or not. As in Quran, Allah said, "Kabura maktan indallahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun." So parents should behave as a digital role model, as children would see them as how they could manage themselves in order to get a proper time with the screen or the device or the gadget. So this article also talk about the right age on getting a phone for your children. Is it 7? Is it 13? Or is it after SPM? So if you want to know more about what is the right time to give your children, your future children, a phone, you can read this article. So the very last point that this article talk about is about the time management. So this article talk about overschedule. So we know children nowadays have a lot of things to do, like school, academic, or skill class, and lots of things that they have to take. So how do you know how much is too much? Okay, that's the question. How do you know how much is too much? So if you don't know the limit of your children, you will be burdening your children. Okay, so next is how to find balance. Balance in homework and family time. What should you wait for? Is it homework more, family time less, or vice versa? Okay, so there's a lot of information in this article. You can read this article. So I am waiting more article from my friends, and we should take note on this article that we read as we are becoming a parents in future. Okay, so last, thank you doctor for giving me a chance to make a review on article in parenting.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Farah Raihana binti Muhammad Fauzi. My matric number is 1913712. And I am from the Department of Nutrition Science, Year 1. In this video, I would like to share my book review about this book, Tales of Mothers, The Greatest Love. This book is edited by Raudah Yunus and Mat Mahmudul Hasan. This book is about 200 pages long, and it is published by Iman Publication. So this book is about a compilation of 8 real-life stories of the ups and downs of motherhood. So basically, this book shows and illustrating the real-life experience and sacrifices that these mothers have shared. I will tell about the titles of the stories. The title of the stories shared in this book are Come What May, I'm a Proud Mother, The Journey I Travel Alone, Mom in Distant Land, A Gift from God, The Promise of Spring, Hanging On, The Chosen Ones, and lastly, Kids Teach Me Creativity. This book have an introduction by the editor Raudah Yunus and also a conclusion by Mat Mahmudul Hasan. So what I wanted to share about this book is that I like 3 stories from the book titled The Journey I Walk Alone, Hanging On, and last one is Kids Teach Me Creativity. In the first 2 stories, it recounts the experience of hardship of the mothers bringing up their children. In the first story is about a mother from Bangladesh that have 2 children. Her first child is diagnosed with autism, while her second child is diagnosed with a lot of health problems actually. While she was seeking for treatment, she faced a lot of difficulties, particularly with her experience with healthcare professionals. The healthcare professionals she met were very judgmental, not helpful, teased her, basically bullied her, and it was not a pleasant experience for her. And you can expect that it's very hard for a mother to raise an autistic child, and as well as a child with a lot of health problems. So the attitude of the health professionals that she met is very unprofessional, which is ironic that they are called health professionals despite of their attitude towards the patient. So I think it impacts me the most because I am currently studying to be a healthcare professional in the future, and I do not want to be a healthcare professional that is judgmental and unhelpful to my patient. Instead, I want to help them to the best of my abilities. So this story gives me a lot of lesson on not to be like the healthcare professionals mentioned in the story. Second one is about a mother who furthered her studies in Perth, Australia, while being pregnant. So you can imagine how hard it is for a pregnant mother to attend class. On top of that, her house or her home is so far away from her university that it takes her about 2 hours to go to her class. On top of that, her husband cannot be with her since her husband needs to go back to Malaysia for fear of losing his job. She also has a problem with her landlord, as her landlord is not kind to her. Even though she is pregnant, her landlord asks her to do heavy jobs that can risk her pregnancy. So the story is very touching, and I think the author is very strong and perseverance, and her perseverance is very admirable. The last story is a light-hearted one and happy one because the author recounted her experience in raising her children in the UK. So she shares some tips as she learns how British education works for raising up children. One particular tip that I like is let children learn by play. What she meant by that is in British education, they do not stress about how to read or write or count, but instead to learn by play. For example, in one day, a teacher would give baby chicks to her students for her students to play with. But at the same time, this teacher would tell stories about the chicks, about where they come from, about their mother chick, which is chicken and hen, and at the end of the month, the teachers would bring their students to a farm so that the students can experience what they have learned in class and what they have played in class before. This also encourage children to speak more and tell stories, and this make the children have high imagination and very outspoken. So those are the 3 stories that I like from the book. To conclude, I think this book is a good read, and it's recommended to people of all ages, and not only mothers, because when you read this book, it will make you think of your mother and appreciate her even more. So as this book focuses on mothers, it doesn't really talk about the importance of fathers in a family. Mother is a very prominent figure in a family, but they should not forget the role of a father in the family as well. So that's all from me. I hope you enjoy my book review, and if you get the chance, please read it as well. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Fatah Binti Fuad, metric number 1819554. Inshallah today I will make a book review regarding the book that I had read. Title is Angkatan Baru. It is written by Hamka, or his real name is Haji Abdul Malik Karim Amrullah. Hamka is one of the Muslim scholar that was very popular in Indonesia. This book only has 88 pages. You see that the book is very thin and was published by Gemma Insani. So, what is this book about? So, let me tell you first about what is the synopsis of this book. Okay, the book actually started with a story of a girl named Shamsia. Shamsia was a very high educated person. She was just graduated from a religious school in Padang, Indonesia. Due to her religious background, she received a very high respect from her villagers in her hometown. However, Shamsia actually was a lazy person. She did not want to learn to cook or not even want to help her mother at the kitchen. What she do? She loves to read love story books. After 1 year had passed, Shamsia finally met a man named Hassan and decided to marry him. At first, their marriage was full of love and they were very happy. But suddenly, there was a conflict that happened in their marriage. So, if you want to know what happened next, you need to read this book. Therefore, for my reflection after I read this book, I started to realize that everything actually starts with our intention. We need to set our intention clearly before we do something. For example, if we want to marry someone, we marry someone not just because we love him or her, but we must set our intention. We marry him or her because we want to get nearer to Allah. A good woman or a good wife is someone who will encourage her husband or her children to benefit other people. For example, a woman encourages her husband to do the da'wah and help others. Marriage is not all about love. It needs shared responsibility, and sometimes we also need to sacrifice. Second, this book also upholds the value of education towards younger generation. For example, I actually realized that this book actually want young generation to prepare themselves before marriage. We need to prepare ourselves with knowledge and skills and others before marriage. Marriage is not all about love. We always know how to love, but how can we prepare ourselves with the challenges that will come after marriage is very important. Therefore, I would like to recommend this book for any young teenagers or any person that is still single. You are very recommended to read this book. Inshallah, you will find this book beneficial for you. So I think that's all for my book review. I hope you like it, and I hope you will get the opportunity to read this book. Ameen. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zaratul Fitrah binti Muhammad Zuraidi. My matrix number is 1914744. Today, I'll be reviewing an article titled How Parenting is Like Surfing. This article relates parenting and surfing because parenting a kid will not always be joyful. Sometimes, parenting is like living in a calm water where parents enjoy a harmonious moment with their kids. But sometimes, there's also a moment where when things get rough and hard, as if there is a wave, suddenly disturbs the harmonious of the oceans. So this article states 4 main things about parenting. The first one is protection and comfort. The second one is control. The third one is reciprocity, and the fourth one is the guided learning. So I'll be giving you a summary about these 4 things. Okay, so let's talk about the first point, which is protection and comfort. So we know that all children need protection and comfort from the family regardless of their age and gender. Sometimes, a child crying doesn't mean that they are in danger. It could be that they are facing an emotional conflict. When parents respond sensitively to their child's feeling, this can help them to face their problem without any stress. Other than that, when parents help them to cope with their problem and stress, this can make their children to have that one feeling, which is an empathic feelings towards their friends who's facing a problem, because they know how to support them emotionally and physically due to their parents' influence. This is not only give benefit to their children itself, but also creates a strong bond between parents and children. Next, control. Problem usually faced when controlling their children is that it must differ according to their age, sex, temperament, mood, self-image, and the nature of the problem. Wrong way in disciplining their children may build a temper in them. If we think logic, we also hate when people control us when we are not in mood, or when people control us out of nowhere. However, parents must bear in mind that a little discipline might not affect their child's behavior, but too much discipline can undermine their child's ability. For example, if the parents are too strict, their children might facing some social anxiety and afraid of trying something new. So like their children can't do something that they like because their parents are to control their movement, their behavior. So this means that when parents want to control their children, they must consider the nature of the problem, consider the situation. One is reciprocity. Reciprocity is same like give and take concept. It is when the parents reward their children for acting up good. It could be that parents give rewards for their children for getting a good result, getting achievements in their school curriculum. So it is believed that children who are treated this way tend to be more happier, more positive social skills, fewer problems, and less conflict. But there's also a problem when parents give too much reward for their kids. The problem is when children start to do something, but it is not based on a genuine desire to work together. They only do it just to get rewards. So it could be that they don't do something sincerely, but they only do that for rewards. If they don't get rewards, then they don't want to do. And the last one is guided learning. Guided learning is important to teach the children to succeed by themselves, but with an initial guidance and support from their parents. It's not that the parents doesn't put efforts in making sure that their children achieve something or succeed in something, but this is to train them to not always depend on their parents. With this technique, children may learn new skills but under close, gentle and guidance from their parents. That is all from me on reviewing an article titled How Parenting is Like Surfing. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Amira Farhana binti Abdul Aziz, number matric 1912292, and today I am going to share to you guys the article review for the journal entitled Model Keluarga Bahagia Menurut Islam, or in English, A Happy Family Model According to Islam, by Nur Shahira Jaafar and Raihana Azhari. So, this article mainly about the theory of family happiness based on Islamic model of family well-being. The reference is made to the views of Muslim philosophers to create an Islamic model of family well-being. So, in this article, it concludes that happiness is dependent upon two factors, which is the faith, or iman, and amal. Some of the interesting things in this article is how it tells about the foundation of marriage. So the foundation of marriage is the dignity and the peace of life, or as-sakinah. At the same time, it also compares with the formation of harmonious society. So, harmony of society generally begins with the institution of the family that capable of establishing a peace and stability in living together based on good relation and mutual. So in other words, a harmonious society must be built up of a happy and harmonious family institution. Therefore, it is important that the theory of family happiness is understood and applied in a holistic way, so that the family achieves pleasure and blessing in dunya and hereafter. This article also elaborates the real meaning of the happiness in a family. According to Al-Farabi, happiness is something that everyone hopes because it is the greatest benefit. However, in finding this happiness, a family needs a good leader. The good leader will combine the concept of good nation with the concept of happiness, because the purpose of human life is to achieve happiness. Al-Farabi also studied and act based on intention or niyat with the conscious and plan that bring the benefit of achieving happiness is defined as good and commendable practice. So, doing good deeds in family and households, such as fulfilling the responsibility of husband or wife with the intention of achieving happiness, is a noble and commendable practice. There are some of the selected elements that must be practiced in the development of happy family. This development of happy family has been shown by the Prophet and companion to show the example of family life that is good. So some of the elements driving the formation of a happy family according to Islam are the first one, Iman. In discussing the happy family, Allah has emphasized the importance of preserving faith and devotion to Allah and the Messenger as the main inspiration in maintaining human relationship, including family. So, the second one is about Aqidah. The strength of faith or Aqidah in family depends on the integrity of faith in each individual, including the husband and wife. So the parents need to learn about the faith that is based on the strong belief and conviction about the existence of Allah referred from the Quran and Sunnah, as well as to avoid from associating Allah and His nature. And the next element that must be known is ilmu. Apart from the faith or Aqidah, deep knowledge is also the key for the development of a strong and respected nation, because through it we will find glory, honor, peace and happiness of the world and also the reward of the hereafter. Knowledge is very important condition to get value of happiness. Why? Because everything in this world must be based on knowledge, such as the faith, the matter of religion, economics, politics, and everything. So, knowledgeable Muslims should act according to their knowledge in the process of devotion to Allah, as described in the Quran. Next element is amal. The principle of achieving happiness must combine the faith and also the amal. The Muslim must practice all activities that lead to the performance of their duty as a Khalif of Allah. All branches of amal also include the intention, the moral, social, the trust, and also physical safety. We go to niyat. According to Al-Qadrawi, niyat means the intention or the action towards hope for blessing of Allah and to obey His law. It is an act of the heart alone. But as a Muslim, intention is really compulsory matter and in harmony with certain act of worship, such as the prayer, fasting, marriage, and divorce. So, in building a successful family, the fundamental of the formation of a Muslim family must be based on important goal and objectives, such as meeting the demands of human instinct, establish a happy household, produce good and righteous descendants. Okay, next we go to Soleh and Solehah children. Then we go to social. Marriage makes human relationship more broad and not to confine to a small group. Islam organized marriage with individuals not related to each other. This is because to allow people to get know more about them. And strong social networks are needed as the catalyst for the happy family, including the community, the family members, children that based on good relation with people. Last but not least is about amanah. Islam emphasizes the importance of trust or amanah in fulfilling the household duties and responsibility. Islam has divided the duty between the spouses so that all the household needs are needed. Islam has do the division of duty between the husband and wife so that the need of household perform well and properly without exceeding any party against the other one. Islam has divided this responsibility into three parts, which is husband to wife, wife to husband, parent to children, such as providing a living, religious guidance, obedience, and guard the property and the husband honor, parenting, and giving the perfect religious education to the children. So that's all about the element of the happy family, which is we know first about iman, and then akidah, and then ilmu, niyat, akhlak, social, and amanah. So the next interesting about this article is about how it divides the stages of a happy family. But this peaceful and happy feeling can be divided into three basic elements, which is the first one, as-sakinah. As-sakinah means peace, tranquility, peaceful life, like a peaceful atmosphere where husband and wife carry out the command of Allah Almighty with the mutual respect and mutual tolerance. Above all that come as-sakinah atmosphere, there will come a sense of love and affection, or called al-mawaddah, which will increase the sense of responsibility on both sides. So, al-mawaddah is interpreted as the feeling of love and affection between the spouses, who give birth to the security and mutual respect between each other, and this will bring happiness to the household. So, through the al-mawaddah, the spouses and the family member will reflect the positive attitude and help each other. This attitude will strengthen the bond between the family and the community. For married couple, this al-mawaddah is not only limited to the husband and wife, parents and children, but also to the whole family society. We have go through the two stages, which is al-sakinah and also al-mawaddah. Now the last stage is ar-rahmah, or belas kasihan in Malay, which is also can be defined as compassion, tolerance, gentle that usually followed by the high moral and also a noble character. Without love and compassion, a family or marriage will be affected and can lead to the destruction. The happiness is impossible to achieve without the compassion of the individual family. Allah has said in Surah Ar-Rum verse 21, "And of His sign is that He created for you from yourself mates, that you may find tranquility in them. And He placed between you affection and mercy. Indeed, there are signs for a people who give thought." Therefore, there is no stronger principle of marital life and relationship than what is stated in the Quran. According to Prophet Dr. Hamka, Rahmat is higher than the Mawaddah because it is affectionate between the spouses, which is no longer based on lust, but instead is about pure love that springs from the triple soul.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Karunisa binti Muhammad Razi and my metric number is 1913810. I am the first year student from Department of Nutrition Sciences. So today I would like to make a review on one of the articles that I found really interesting and very suitable for all the readers out there. So stay tuned. So in this article, we are going to know what is actually the writer said regarding this topic. So this article has been written by Jill Suti in 2014. In her article, she came out with one statement, which is, new research suggests that Mother's Day gratitude, it is not only can benefit or give good towards the moms, but also it can give the good for the kids. So when we talk about Mother's Day, it is very significant with a special day when the children shows their gratitude by giving presents and having celebration with family members. Yes, getting cards, gifts, and presents from the children can be sweet, but sometimes it does not come together with the value of the sincerity. Nowadays, children sometimes can be oblivious to the sacrifices that have been made by their parents, especially when they have grown up and have their own life. So showing our gratitude toward our parents, it is much more necessary rather than giving their presents or maybe gifts with a plain heart, just because we want to do what everyone do during that Mother's Day. So how gratitude can give a good impact toward the children? So in this article, the writer did mention about one book titled Making Grateful Kids. So what the writer of this book says that the children who practicing a good behavior, such as showing their gratitude, they display positive benefits such as having a good mood, become more optimistic, and having a good social relationship with the people. And as for the teenagers, they said that the grateful teenagers becomes more active and more motivated, and they're also more engaged with school and hobbies. There are also another scientific research that has been done by Robert Emmons. He stated that it is might due to the releasing of the oxytocin, which is one of the hormones in our body that helps to increase our trust and also our happiness and other positive emotion in our body. But my last word will be, we need to appreciate our parents and do good to them, as they have sacrificed a lot of things in our life in order to make sure we grow up healthily. So make them proud and make them happy. Tell them how valuable they are in your life. So I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Magak Ikmal bin Magak Abdul Karim. In this video, I want to make a review of this article. Okay, This study aims to identify the relationship between parenting behavior, psychologically stress, and mental health among caregivers of children diagnosed with autism at the National Autism Society of Malaysia, NASOM. So let me summarize the article first. Autistic spectrum disorder can be defined as a developmental condition that includes social and communication deficits and has limited interest. These ASD problems can be identified at an early stage and also categorized as a mental health problem. The behavior of children with ASD is markedly different from that of other normal children, where it is considered a challenge for a family with ASD. Parenting practices in autism children tend to face social stigma from the community, where they have labeled autism as a despicable sight. Stigma given by verbal or non-verbal by the surrounding community is a major factor in the decline of self-motivation among parents with ASD. In general, parents with children diagnosed with ASD have higher level of stress than parents who have children with other developmental problems. Previous research has found that children with developmental imbalances contribute to increased level of parental stress. Plus, financial and educational issues are also key issues in contributing to stress among parents. Based on the result of this study, the ASD child caregiver pressure level in NASOM was at an alarming rate, involving majority of all caretaker respondents. Next, the majority of autism child caretaker in NASOM have poor condition of mental health. Meanwhile, only minority of caretaker recorded high level of mental health. Also, most caregivers may not care about their mental health. This should be noted because most caretakers for autism children do not know their mental health. Overall, there was a significant relationship between parenting behavior, psychological stress, and mental health. So now here are some tips, parenting tips for taking care of autism children. As a parent, they have probably spent a lot of time thinking about their child's future. Apart from the medical care and therapies that they may line up to help their son or daughter, there are simple, everyday things that makes a difference. The first one is focus on the positive. Just like anyone else, children with ASD respond well to positive reinforcement. That means when you praise them for the behaviors they are doing well, it will make them feel good. Be specific so that they know exactly what you like about their behavior. Find ways to reward them, either with extra play time or a small prize like sticker. Second one is stay consistent and stick on schedule. People on the spectrum like routines. Make sure that they get consistent guidance and direction so they can practice what they learn from therapy. This can make them learning new skill and behavior easier and help them apply their knowledge in different situations. Talk to their teacher and therapist and try to align on a consistent set of techniques and methods of interaction so you can bring what they are learning home. Put play on the schedule. Finding activities that seem like pure fun and not more education or therapy may help your child open up and connect with you. Next, give it time. You will likely try a lot of different techniques, treatments, and approaches as you figure out what's best for your child. Stay positive and try not to get discouraged if they don't respond well to a particular method. The next one is take your child along for everyday activities. If your child behavior is unpredictable, you may feel like it's easier not to expose them to certain situations. But when you take them on everyday tasks like grocery shopping, it may help them get used to the world around them. Next is get support, whether online or face-to-face. Support from other families, professional, and friends can be a big help. Support groups can be a good way to share advice and information and to meet other parents dealing with similar challenges. Individual, marital, or family counseling can be helpful too. Think about what might make your life little easier and ask for help. So in conclusion, children are often mentioned in the Quran as favors, the gift of Allah, Qur'an, and those who will pray for their parents after their death. At the same time, it is a great amanah that parents must bear. Allah mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 280 that Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amirul Akmal. Okay, inshallah today I want to make a review from one of my favorite book, which is this. The title is Sifat 21 Pengenalan Asal. Okay, before I make the review of this book, I will introduce about his writer. Okay, his writer is Ustaz Muadil Haji Jul. He is one of the product of IIUM student, which is he learn in IIUM in Islamic level knowledge course. So you can do. This writer is one of the IIUM product, and he was a lecturer of IIUM. A lecturer of IIUM for 15 years. Now he is one of the famous preacher in Malaysia. He always make a preach in IKIM FM, and he always preach all around of Malaysia. Okay. Yeah, so we can do Ustaz Muhadir, the writer of this book, is one of the authority preacher in Malaysia. Okay, so this book is about the Aqidah. In this book, we can learn about the Allah attributes. So we can know Allah by His attribute. Because one of the basic of ilmu Aqidah is about we should know about our creator, which is Allah. So in this book, the writer share about the 20 attributes of Allah. Okay, for example, mukhalafatul lil hawadis, which is Allah not same with His creation. Okay, it means that Allah don't have the body, don't have hand, don't have face, not sitting anywhere, and Allah exists without a place. So this book is about the attributes of Allah, so that we can know Allah by His attribute. And this book also teach us about the Aqidah Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaah, which is our manhaj in Islam. And this book also explain about the Rasul, about the Anbiya. And this book also, inshallah, when we read this book, it will be a basic defender for us to avoid from any ideologies that pull us far away from Islam. And this book also explain about the example of the ideology, which is Mu'tazilah, Jabariyah, Shia, and Tra. And this book is one of the manhaj to know Allah better, because we as a mukallaf, we are compulsory to know Allah. So I prefer you to read all his book and watch all his video in YouTube. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zaim bin Zahari. In this video, I would like to make a book review entitled The Reason I Jump. This version of the book is the version that has been translated by K.A. Yoshida and David Mitchell, which the book was originated from the Japanese language. This book is about the inner voice of 13 years old boy with autism, Naoki Higashida. He was born on 1992 and lived at Kimetsu, Japan. In 1998, he was diagnosed with autism tendencies and have a big problem in communicating with others. Luckily, when he attended to school for students with special needs, which is Hagukumi School, his teacher, Ms. Suzuki, and his mother trained him to learn a method of communication via writing. At the beginning, he used to communicate by using the alphabet grid. What is alphabet grid? Alphabet grid is the table or the list of alphabet that helps him to make words while communicating by pointing it. In 13 years old, he already mastered it and have no problem in reading or typing in computer or even publish this book. This book has only 200 pages and very useful to the person who have someone just like Naoki Higashida. What makes it interesting is this book contains 58 of questions that people always wanted to ask them, and The answer is from the one who experienced autism. This book is very special because most of children with autism having a problem in express themselves, and even their parents do not have any clue what might their children thinking. Thus, this book can guide us to understand them more and know a little bit what is going on in their mind. What was happening right now with a very big mistake, which is we force them to understand us without we understand them first. As a person who have a sibling or children or even friends in these situations, we need to give them full of support and never give up upon them. So I very recommend to all of you to read this book. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fitri bin Nurmain, metric number 1910061. In this video, I want to do book review, which is Islamic comic book. The title of the book is Traveller London by Wana Wani, and the publisher is The Creative Venture, which is one of my favorite publishers. So why this book is very interesting to me? First, it gave me motivation and inspiration for me to study harder in the future as much as possible. Second, the story in this book taught me about how the culture from West and East are mixed together in one places. And the last one, it taught me to see other people in other countries with Islamic perspective. So in this book, there are 11 short chapters, including prologue and epilogue, and each of the chapters, except prologue and epilogue, contain two different parts, which is part 2, Author's Diary or Diary London Money, and the second part is about the information of United Kingdom and London specifically. First, for the diary part, it shares us about the author's journey in United Kingdom, and the diary content is related to the story of each chapter. Second, there are several scenes in this book that in my favorite list. So the first scene is about the hardship that the author herself faced when she was in United Kingdom. For example, her friends asked her to go to pub or bar. Therefore, she gave her friends many excuses in order to avoid it, but her friends keep asking her to follow them. And finally, she followed her friends, but somehow she can manage to go home early by giving them the reasonable excuses. The second favorite scene is her uncertainty about her ambition. So in this book, she furthered her study in United Kingdom in Bachelor of Biochemistry, and when she was there at a long time, she suddenly realized that she has own dreams, which she wants to be comic artist. By then, she feels very depressed and very stressed, and she cannot concentrate in the class anymore for a long time. The last favorite scene is about her sister that managed to convince the author about the author's ambition. So the author's sister gave her an inspiring advice when she was mentally down because of her uncertainty about her ambition. Before that, when she felt uncertainty about her ambition, she never talked to her family, and she thought that she can hold it alone. But for a long time, she cannot hold it anymore, and she decided to tell her sister about it. So in that scene, there is one dialogue that very gave me inspiration when I feel down. So the dialogue is, I translated it to English. So the dialogue is, one day we will feel that every knowledge that we gain is not a waste, and we will learn the beautiful meaning about being ilmuwan. So this dialogue give me an inspiration, give me motivation to study harder when I feel uncertainty about my ambition, and when I read this, I feel very confident about my ambition. In conclusion, there are many lessons that I can learn in this book. I realized that the learning process is not only in the formal class. We can also learn from other people, our environment, and also from the trials from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Second, this book taught me that I am not alone when I have problems. I can share it with people around me, and what is the most important thing is I can rely on Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala 100%, fully 100%, because He can give me the best solution towards my problems. Every time when I raise my hand and pray to Him. That's all from me about the book review of Travelogue London. I highly recommend you guys that you guys must have this book. Okay, that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Today I want to make a movie review. Oh yeah, my name is Muhammad Azir Ashraf bin Sabruddin. The movie that I want to share with you guys is Miracle in Cell Number 7. Yeah, I'll introduce this name. I can confirm that every one of you will know about this movie. This is a very famous Korean movie. This movie is starring by Yoo Sung-young as Young-gu, his father, and Kal So-woon, Yi-sung, his daughter, when he is child. Next, we proceed with the synopsis of this movie. Miracle in Cell Number 7 is about a single father named Young-gu who suffers mental illness. He was falsely accused for a rape and murder of an elementary school girl. This man also raised a daughter named Ye-sung, who is also in elementary school. But when he caught by the police, his daughter is left alone. Fortunately, his cellmate are very understanding about Young-gu's condition. They come up with a very brave and clever plan. They plan to smuggle his daughter into the prison. Since the father is accused for a rape and murder, his cellmate try their best to help him to win the case. At the beginning, the plan worked very smooth until the father of the victim, who is also the police commissioner, threatens Young-gu. Years by years had passed. Young-gu's daughter has grown up as a lawyer. Then she fight for his father's case to bring up the justice. Last, we go for the moral values that can be learned from this movie. First, parents will do anything for their children. As in this movie, the main reason why Young-gu has been caught for the rape and murder case is he wants to fulfill his daughter's wish. He do anything to get the yellow Sailor Moon back. Second, do not misuse someone's disability to gain something. Threat from the police commissioner, who is the father of the victim, triggers Young-gu anxiety, will change his mindset from winning the case to saving his daughter's life. He puts his daughter over himself. Even though his daughter has died, he should not take advantage of Young-gu's disability. Last, be a supportive friend. In this movie, we can see that Young-gu's cellmates dare to take the risk when they smuggle Yi-sung into this prison. They also help Young-gu to win the case. They help Young-gu to explain the truth and deny his charge to the judge. Okay, I think that's all from me. If you don't watch this movie yet, do watch it. And reminder from me, if you want to watch it, bring a box of tissue, because it will make you cry. Okay, bye. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad bin Roslan. My mention number is 1816925. And today I am going to do a review for a very interesting movie, a Hindi movie that called Dangal. This movie has very good lessons for good parenting skill and family value. So Dangal is about Mr. Mahavir Singh, who is a former wrestler who decides to fulfill his dream of winning a gold medal for his country that he failed during his young age by training his daughters for the Commonwealth Game despite the existing social stigmas in the community. So the main character, Mr. Mahavir, is played by the director of the film himself, which is Amir Khan, who is also known as very popular for his very acting skills in many popular movies. This movie can give us some good lessons on parenting skills and family value. In this movie, Mr. Mahavir is so keen in winning the gold medal for his country that he came to the extent in which he forced the daughters to train very hard and become a wrestler. So in the process, his two daughters, Gita and Babita, are strictly prohibited to eat their favorite foods, which are sweets and spicy food, and also they are disciplined to work out as daily routine and do heavy work to improve their strength, although despite that the fact they are girls. This style of parenting is quite inappropriate as it doesn't conform with normal development of a child. Childhood time should be an opportunity for every child to play and explore. This a very strict parenting and training also has brought Gita and Babita to show protest in many ways, like cheating to their father. They also secretly tried to put on women clothes, and this teaches us that as parents, we should not restrict our children to follow their natural sexual instinct, whether they are male or female. Allah stated in the Quran, "Ar-rijal qawwamun 'ala nisa," men are caretaker or above of women. It shows that Allah has set the degree or the level of a man and for a woman himself. So there are borderline that separates in their struggle, in their responsibility. But then there are also times where Mr. Mahavir will massage his daughters to reduce their muscles pain at night. He also finds chickens to include it in their meal so that her daughters will get enough protein. He also supports his daughter along all competitions of wrestling until his daughter was able to beat other contestants and win many prizes. That is quite a profit to their family. This, on the bright side, shows us that in parenting, you have to balance between being strict and loving with your child for their well-being. I would recommend this movie to everyone that likes drama and loves to get motivation from watching movies. It teaches determination, healthy lifestyle, self-discipline, loves and culture, and also the acting skills of all the actors and actresses are very on point, and the emotion are very relatable to us, and some of us may find it very sentimental and near to our own life story. It also can make us see the unseen side of our parents' struggle in raising us and encourage us to always love and respect them in our life. I rate this movie a 9 out of 10 because it is very good in contents and presentation. So please watch. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nur Hakim bin Abdul Ghani, first year dietetic students from Kuliah of Allied Health Science. For this video, I want to share with you a movie which I think has an interesting message in terms of family management and parenting. This movie was released in 2015 and titled Inside Out. Mind of an American girl named Riley are the basic emotions who control her actions: joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. Her experiences become memories stored as colored orbs, which are sent into long-term memory each night. Her 5 most important core memories, power aspects of her personality, which take the form of floating island. Joy acts as the leader, and she and the rest of the emotions try to limit sadness' influence. However, I want to take you to another side of this story and explore more about Riley and her family. One of the issues that I noticed when I watched the movie is about how Riley's parents try to tell her to be her parents' happy girl, while their family adjusts to a stressful cross-country move and her father goes through a difficult period at work. From this matter, I could see that Riley's family has a bit of misunderstanding with the concept of happiness. For her parents, their girl should be happy all the time to make the family happy too. However, Riley seems to disagree with her parents when she thinks that her parents do not pay attention to her true feelings. The plot starts when Riley has unstable emotions in a new environment, which led her and her father to be in a tense situation. To make it worse, Riley decides to run away from her family to Minnesota by herself. So, to relate with the issue, I find quite an interesting research done by the emotion researcher June Cooper and her colleagues in finding the nuances of happiness and its pursuit. Their findings challenge the happy all the time imperative that was probably imposed upon many of us. Their research suggests that making happiness an explicit goal in life can actually make us miserable. Grover's College, Iris Moss, has discovered that the more people strive for happiness, the greater the chance that they will set very high standards of happiness for themselves and feel disappointed and less happy when they are not able to meet those standards all the time. So it should come as no surprise that trying to force herself to be happy actually doesn't help Riley with the stresses and transitions in her life. In fact, not only does the strategy fail to bring her happiness, it also seems to make her feel isolated and angry with her parents, which factors into her decision to run away from their new home in San Francisco. So, what's more effective route to happiness for Riley and the rest of us? Recent research points to the importance of prioritizing positivity, deliberately carving out ample time in life for experiences that we personally enjoy. For Riley, that's ice hockey, spending time with friends, and creating memories with her parents. But critically, prioritizing positivity does not require avoiding or denying negative feelings or the situation that cause them, the kind of single-minded pursuit of happiness that can be counterproductive. There's a crucial emotional lesson for Riley and her family when Riley finally admits that moving to San Francisco has been tough for her, an admission that brings her closer to her parents. Hence, to conclude this video, it is not about happiness all the time. It is about sharing your own feelings to your family members. Family is the best place for us to share our feelings and problems. Share your thoughts in the right way. May Allah help you to find true happiness. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Muhammad Shakir Aiman bin Ahmad, matric number 1813755. Are you familiar with the soundtrack of this video? If your answer is yes, so you may be one of the Potterheads like me. But if otherwise, I have no comment for you. To begin with, in this video, I would like to share with you some of my honest thoughts and reviews for one of the most awaited books that I personally so eager to read, which is, tada! Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So, as I know that not everyone has the chance to read the book yet, but I need to remind you that this video is going to be a spoiler for some of the scenes happening in the book, because I really cannot do a review with no spoilers in it, right? I have no choice left. Please don't blame me, blame the assignment. Just kidding. Without further delay, let's start. For your information, this is a play script which is published as a book. It is written by Jack Thorne, but the ideas of the story are inspired by J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany, and Jack Thorne. Okay, let us start with the synopsis of this book. It was always difficult being Harry Potter, and it is not much easier now that he is an overworked employee of the Ministry of Magic, a husband, and father of 3 school-aged children. While Harry grapples with a past that refuses to stay where it belongs, his youngest son, Albus Potter, must struggle with the weight of a family legacy he never wanted. As past and present fuse ominously, both father and son learn the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes darkness comes from unexpected places. There are several events that caught my attention while reading this book. First, this book showcased the new and uncommon side of the characters. They are becoming parents now. Harry Potter and Ginny have 2 sons and a daughter. Ron and Hermione have Rose and Hugo. Malfoy and Astoria have Scorpio, but unfortunately Astoria had passed away due to illness. Lastly, Bellatrix and Voldemort. Yes guys, Voldemort has a child, can you imagine it? Are you curious on what will happen next? You better read this book. Next, the rivalry between Harry and Draco seemed endless. They keep blaming one another for everything that happened to their sons. For that event, I'm so sorry, you need to read by yourself. Third, the use of the time traveler in this book. The time traveler has brought a lot of changes and effects on the world of Harry Potter. So, if you are wondering what are the changes, what are the effects, I'm so sorry, as usual, you need to read by your own. But the most important event that really captured my interest while reading this book is the parenting styles practiced by those characters. Let me tell you more about that. Bowdring 1960 classified 4 types of the parenting styles, which are authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and neglectful. The first one is authoritative. Authoritative parents have high expectation for achievement and maturity, but they are also warm and responsive. These parents set rules and enforce boundaries by having open discussion, providing guidance, and using reasoning. They are supportive and encourage independence. This parenting style is also known as the democratic parenting style. The second one is authoritarian. Although authoritarian and authoritative parenting styles have similar names, they have several important differences in parenting belief, demand, and approaches. While both parental styles demand high standards, authoritarian parents demand blind obedience using reasons such as "because I said so." These parents use stern discipline and often employ punishment as a way to control children's behavior. Authoritarian parents are unresponsive to their children's needs and are generally not nurturing, so high level of parental control and low level of responsiveness are the 2 characteristics of authoritarian parents. Next, the permissive parents. Permissive parents set very few rules and boundaries, and they are reluctant to enforce rules. These indulgent parents are warm and indulgent, but they do not like to say no or disappoint their children. Lastly, the neglectful parents. They do not set firm boundaries or high standards. They are indifferent to their children's needs and uninvolved in their life. These uninvolved parents may have mental issues themselves, such as maternal depression or physical abuse or child neglect when they were kids. From this book, it can be observed that Hermione and Ron is one of the example of the authoritative parents. They always support their daughter named Rose to do whatever that she enjoys, such as learning, taking exam, and enjoying the Quidditch tournament. Rose is a high-spirit and well-performed girl because she has a good support system, which is her parents. Personally, I do think that Harry Potter is an authoritarian parent. In this book, he seems like he is out of character. He's surely very loving and caring in his teen life, but when becoming a father, he looks stressful and being overprotective on his son. He forbids his son from being friends with Scorpio, who is Draco's son, due to some groundless rumors. One time, he also tells his son that he wished that he's not his son for disappointing him. He also forced the teacher, which is Professor McGonagall, to keep an eye strictly on his son at school. For this part, I do understand that Harry is just being concerned on his son's safety, but by not having a proper discussion and legit reason to justify his reckless action, I think it's just so wrong for me. Next, I do think that Draco Malfoy is an authoritarian parent too. Astoria's death has given such a huge impact on Draco's life. He lost his source of motivation and life. He's getting cold and indifferent with his son, Scorpio. He keeps pressuring him to do well in school and be acknowledged by the others. I felt so sorry for Draco for his loss, but I do think that he needs to consider his son's feeling the most in this situation. His son needs the affection and the support from his parent who can help him to grow up as a better person. Thus, Draco should be rational and be patient while dealing with this circumstance. For sure that the most qualified characters to be called neglectful parents are none other than Bellatrix and Voldemort. No one can ever imagine how the cruel and heartless person can make love and has a child together, right? That child has never get a chance to meet her biological parents as she was being abandoned since a kid. Her existence is also a secret that no one even know the truth of her background. This is the part where I cringe the most. How can Voldemort, a devil, and not even considered as a human, may have a child? It's nonsense. If I have to critique, I would say that the use of time traveling concept, which mainly plotted and embodied throughout this book, is boring. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it because it's kind of cliche. It's like we keep regretting the past that we live on and try to change it instead of focusing and improving on the present and constructing the best for the future. Second, for me, some of the characters are just off from their true characters that we already recognize with. For instance, Harry in this book is just so rude and apprehensive. Then there is no way Voldemort has a child with Bellatrix. He's just so heartless and inhuman. But I strongly recommend for all of you to read this book to understand the feeling of the innocent children in achieving their parents' standards and expectations. We also manage to understand how imperfect we are as humans, and there is always a room for improvement in this life, which conveyed perfectly in this book. If you are a Potterhead like me, it's a must for you to read it. The prophet personality was not merely exemplified for a specific period, generation, nation, religion, or place. Rather, he is a lasting global symbol for all people, transcendence through time. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Indeed, among the believers with the most complete faith is the one who is the best in conduct and the most kind to his family." Rawahu Tirmizi. In Islam, our parents have rights upon us, and when we become parents ourselves, our children have rights upon us. Needless to say, the Prophet ﷺ innate nature of being a mercy for all of God's creation is undisputed. His mercy is unparalleled, and indeed, his treatment of children, and not just his own progeny, is an example to us all. The Prophet ﷺ would kiss and embrace children often as an expression of his tender love and mercy towards them. In this hadith about children, Abu Hurairah reported that Al-Aqra bin Habis saw Allah's Messenger ﷺ kissing Al-Hasan. He said, "I have 10 children, but I have never kissed any of them." Whereupon Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, "He who does not show mercy towards his children, no mercy will be shown to him." Rawahu Muslim. Lastly, We as a child to our parents should always treat our parents nicely. It is stated in Surah An-Nisa verse 36, which means worship Allah and associate nothing with Him, and to parents do good. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Izzati Nandira, and in this video I'll be sharing with you guys about a book called Strings Attached, which based on real life events written by two main protagonists, Melanie Kupczynski and Joanne Lippman. For me, this book is one of my personal favorite because it involves family love, true hardships, friendship and grief. I admit I did cry when I read the book for the first time. Okay, briefly, it's a story about a brilliant music teacher and his students' opinion on him. As a music student in high school, I see myself a lot while reading this book. It involves all the hardships, the yelling, the non-stop trainings, every evening and every weekend, even at night sometimes, and the satisfaction when you finally perform what you have been training all this time. And I played trumpet, by the way. So there are some photos included in this book. I have this book right here, even it is mirrored. Yeah, I read this book so many times, and here in this you can see here it is mirrored, by the way. It's okay, we have some memories of the characters, and also yeah, we have it more here. Okay, it is good. It's good to put it that way because it makes you feel like you're growing up together with the characters. Okay, this book right here started off with forward, like most of the books out there, from the writer stating that everybody has that one teacher who changes someone's life forever. So for the authors, Melanie and Joanne, that teacher is their music teacher, Mr. Jerry Kupczynski, who was famously known among his students as Mr. K. Joanne even labeled him as the toughest teacher in the world in New York Times. They noted that if Mr. K wasn't a real-life character, someone would have had to invent him. The whole story in this book involves major flashback from Melanie's and Joanne's childhood. Okay, let's start off with Mr. K, or the real name is Jeremiah Kupczynski, who was born in 1928. He is a Ukrainian-born taskmaster who loved to scream and yell about anything. He would call his students maniac, idiot, or deaf. However, he also pushed his students to dream bigger and to achieve more than they could ever imagine. He grew up in a hometown of Stryj. I don't think I pronounced this right. I'm so sorry. But it's okay. The authors noted that his hometown would later be occupied by the Soviet Union and then by Germany within a decade. Once he migrated to America with his stepfather and mother, he changed his name to Jerry. At the first, he wanted to learn violin, but then as the circumstances changed, he played the cello at Murray State University in Kentucky. He married Jane Brown, who was also excellent in music department. They both live in East Brunswick, New Jersey, with their two daughters, Melanie and Stephanie. Mr. K had a traumatizing childhood which shaped him into the person he was today. He said, "Having survived 2 wars and great tragedies in life, I learned to neutralize my emotions. Such strict discipline was indispensable to maintain my physical and intellectual existence. Circumstances has forced me to learn self-mastery. Those circumstances involve him of getting shot, stabbed and stuff. For me, I think that is rough for a 16 years old to have to go through such horrible experience. So according to the writers, today's parents would not want Mr. K to teach their children, yet it was remarkably effective. The writers also raised some questions such as, are we too soft on kids? How do we best balance discipline and praises? How hard do we want our kids' teachers to push them? And if our kids do complain, how do we know when or if to interfere? This is relevant. I think this is relevant with today's education situation. For example, back in my day in school, it is normal and okay for teacher to punish the students if they break the rules or if they don't finish the homework given. If we, the students, do complain about it to our parents, they would still be mad at us and thanking the teacher for punishing us. And worst case scenario, the parents would give us extra punishment at home. But nowadays, we often see or hear the news where students sue the teacher for reasonable punishments, and the parents are okay with it. The parents are cool with it. Now we move on to Melanie Kupicensky, the eldest daughter of Mr. K. She is famous among her circle for being a violin prodigy. Joanne wrote that everybody in school knew who Melanie was. Probably everybody in town knew who she was, as the newspapers always wrote about her concerts and printed her pictures. She started to play violin at the age of 4 years old. I repeat, that's 4 years old, that's insane. And she played, I might pronounce this wrong, but bear with me. She played Edelweiss from The Sound of Music for her solo debut at the age of 5 at the East Brunswick annual concert alongside the high school string and symphony orchestra and the intermediate and beginners orchestras. Mr. K stated that Melanie read music before she could read words. That's brilliant, I guess. At the age of 8, Melanie performed Concertino by Philip Gordon. Philip Gordon is a composer from Princeton. He composed a concertino specifically just for Melanie. That's so nice. And she played the concertino accompanied by East Brunswick Junior High School Orchestra in Atlantic City, New Jersey. After that, she performed many more concerts throughout her life. She is a shy kind of person since she was a child, contrary to her little sister Stephanie. Stephanie is a total rebel, pretty much like her father. Okay, now we move on to the next writer, Joanne Lippman. Joanne is the youngest child of Burton and Diane Lippman. She lived on the other side of East Brunswick. In 4th grade, she scored well in the school-wide music aptitude test conducted by Mr. K. Later, she played the viola, even though it's not as glamorous as violin, but it is okay for her. One notable line from Joanne about Mr. K is, "Whatever I managed to achieve, he expected more." The plot twisted when, after several years, when everyone already moved out from the town, that's when something terrible happened. Stephanie went missing. Joanne, who was now a journalist at Wall Street Journal, received a call from Mr. K, informing her about the news. Mr. K was asking Joanne for some help to spread out the news. He was hoping that someone would have any information about Stephanie's whereabouts. So Joanne reached out to her old friends at New York Times, her current friends at Wall Street Journal, and all the journalists to help her to spread the news. However, weeks turned to months, and months turned to years. Stephanie was still missing. until one day the worst fear has arrived. As Joanne was working, she received a call from Miriam, her quartet member. Through the call, Miriam informed Joanne that Stephanie's remains has been found by two brothers who were fishing in a shallow stream in upstate New York. Stephanie went missing for 7 years and was finally found that she was murdered by the handyman at her apartment building. Long story short, for Stephanie's funeral, Joanne returned to East Brunswick to play in the quartet together with Melanie and Miriam. Everyone was there, especially Mr. K's students. They gathered together and Mr. K said that was the last gift Stephanie left for them, to bring them all back together. Few months has passed and now it's Mr. K's turn. He passed away at the age of 81 after struggling with Parkinson's disease. Joanne once again flew back to New Jersey to prepare for her teacher's funeral. She showed up with 100 other people at Hammarskjöld Middle School together with their instruments. They all gathered together for Mr. K. During the funeral, one of the students told the crowd, which I quote, "We succeeded at first because we were afraid not to, and later because we knew this man believed we could play brilliantly, so we believe it ourselves." So, the conclusion for this book right here, one thing Mr. K has certainly taught me as a reader is true happiness can only be achieved through hard work. So that's all from me for this book review. I hope whoever watching this enjoy my rambling. I know it's quite a long review. I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum everyone. Today I'm going to share a book review, 30 Ways to Attain Happiness by Muhammad bin Abdullah Al-Shaykh. I finally picked up this book and well, obviously read it. So let me tell you why I was hooked about the book. Basically, this book works as one sitting read. It is a guidance for, especially in society, in our daily life, as it presents the way of dealing with our daily life cycle, accepting the past, bracing for tomorrow, based on teaching of Quran and Sunnah. It is sweet and soothe and heal our worries and sorrow, especially current situation, COVID-19 outbreak. The author used understandable and simple words for reader to read. The more interesting part is he added some beautiful quote and Quranic verse that glue my eyes to stick on the book. So one of the ways to attain happiness that I can share is make a pleasant flame from the lemon, which is one transform losers into gain. For example, Gabriel, Prophet Muhammad was driven of Mecca and he established a nation in Medina, as is well known in the history. So look at the other side of the tragedy. When an adversity befalls you, look at the side of it. When a person hands over a cup of lemon, you added a cup of sugar. So adjust it in your difficult situation. And perhaps you start something, but Allah replace it in an abundant good way. This book is simple yet so profound that it will change your life in the blink of an eye. All the lessons or rather the arguments in this book are pretty much applicable in every aspect of life. Alright, if you want to know the other 29 ways to attain happiness, this is a book that I recommend for you to read. So it is a thin book that you can just read in one day. I love how the chapter is completed with a verse of Quran. This is priced at 50 ringgit. It's reasonably priced and worth it. For those who want to buy this book, you can get it at Dakwah Corner Store Books or MPH Store. That's all from me. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum and have a nice day.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Fauzana binti Yusof and my matric number is 1813372. Today, I am going to share about the latest book that I have read, which is Selamat Tinggal Purnama. See, the cover page of the book can actually form a vinyl when it is combined. It is because these books were published in the same time. So this is the strain 1 and this is the strain 2. The author of this book is Tamer Abdullah. It is actually his stage name. Tamer is very anonymous as he never exposed his face to the readers. He chose to be anonymous because he wants people to buy his books because of the content and not because of him. He decided to write on these books after there are so many artists such as Chester Bennington and Gohara that decided to end their life with their own hands. Selamat Tinggal Purnama is his 7th book. First, I will share with you guys about the synopsis. The books are about a famous artist named Latif Purnama that lived in an era where they need to collect credits in order to stay alive. Latif has everything: good-looking face, great voice, nice personality, and even achievement that no one has achieved before in a country named Nusaraya. His life totally changed when there was a gossip spread around that he used dirty tricks and even used a fake voice in order to survive in his career. For this book, I will focus on 3 aspects, which are freedoms, human perception, and obsession. The first one is freedom. The main character of this book, Latif Purnama, was a famous artist, not only in his country but also all around the world. Since he was so famous, he was like losing his own privacy and freedom until on one of his birthday, he wished that he can go to have grocery shopping peacefully without any fans that comes and notice him. Grocery shopping might be really simple for us, but as a famous artist, he even lost the freedom of it. Whatever he did, wherever he went, there must be at least 5 bodyguards to take care and control of his fans. However, recently, the COVID-19 pandemic has proved us that having a freedom is such a blast. Need to stay in home, cannot go to work, to school, to university have personally made me realize that how good to be free walking outside. Therefore, we always need to be grateful for every single little things that we got. The second one is human perception. In this book, Tamer used a very brilliant but unique way where everyone was born with a stripe on the neck that represent their status in the community. There are few colors. The lowest and the worst one is black and the best one is in diamond color. The color of the stripes can be changed with people perception. For example, if someone did a bad things and the news about it went viral and changed people's perception towards that person, the color will change to a lower status, and once it turns black, the person will automatically die. It is same as the concept in our real life, where no matter how good we are, how many million good things that we did, once we did a bad things, people's perception will be changed toward us, and finally, we might die from the insecurities and the feeling of want to be perfect in the eyes of the human. The next one is obsession. Since Latif Purnama was a very famous singer, for sure he have millions of fanatic and diehard fans. In one of the chapter, when Latif and his wife finally decided to reveal that they have already married, one of his fans decided to kill herself the next day due to that news because she cannot accept that her artist and idol is now belong to someone else. This is also really relatable to our world right now, where we are sometimes forgot to be moderate in liking some things that lead to obsession. The same case happened when someone is breaking up with her or his lover and felt that their life has been ended and choose to hurt themselves or even worse, kill themselves without even care that there are still many people who love them, such as their family and their friend. As a conclusion, I am really amazed on how Tamer chose to deliver his message through this book, both strain 1 and strain 2. It is relatable in our life, but he approached us in a different way. But what happened to Latif Purnama? Did he really use that way to succeed? Did he choose to kill himself at the end of the story? Did he stop singing? To know more about this, you guys should read the books. I am totally recommend for you guys to read the books. You guys get worried from me if you want to. Shh, don't tell other people, okay? Till then, thank you for spending your times and happy reading. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye.
Assalamualaikum. Hi everyone, my name is Hidayah binti Latif and today I'll be reviewing this book entitled Travelogue Cinta Abadi written by Rosa Ruslan. This autobiography book tells about the life memories of a young village girl from her childhood to her teenage years through the perspective of the writer herself after she becoming an adult. I enjoy reading this book because it was written using a blog-like approach where each entry is a simple subject or topic. From this book, I noticed that Mrs. Rosa Ruslan learns things about life from her surrounding, from her past through tips, words of wisdom, and hardship that she has been through before. There is certain heart-catching chapters in this book that are related to family management and parenting. First one is Pucuk Paku. In this chapter, she tells the burden of how she had to take care of her siblings in the absence of her parents who went to manage their cocoa plantation, and they left home without raw materials to cook food. They only had basic ingredients such as rice and onions. She was only 11 years old at this moment. She felt that her father was cruel for neglecting his responsibilities by leaving them hungry at home. She felt that she should not hold that responsibility of cooking and preparing food for her sibling on her own at that age. Luckily, she had her cousins who invited her to pick some ferns around the village to make side dish. Next one, in the chapter named Lepat, she tells the story of how she felt very upset and angry toward her father because he hit her without even listening to her justification when he got to know that she fought at school after being mocked by a boy. She brings herself to her grandmother's house and her grandmother cooks her with advices and at the same time taught her to make various types of kuih lepat. From this event, she learned to handle her emotion by doing something to cool the anger down. The time of her being angry is worthless. It is better if she does something else worthwhile and seek for someone who can understand and know how to solve the problem. In this book, there are many family issues. First, the hardship of the people living in the villages back in 1980s and also poverty affects the family structure. Second, the injustice felt by the children because of the parenting styles. Third, the responsibilities held by the children are heavier than they supposed to have. And fourth, the roles of grandparents and more. If you want to know more, you can get this book at the bookstores or even ebooks on Playbook apps. The author also have another books such as Perca, Kandil di Kaki Gunung, Travelogue Kehidupan Abadi, and more. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, today I'm going to do an article review. This article is from Gurukul International School, which is a school blog that tells us about 21st century parenting tips. Okay, we are now in 2020, right? So, as we are living forward, we should have a modification towards the older parenting tips. I'm not saying that the older generation shows bad parenting, no, but because we are living more towards the future, we are living in different era, different generation, so we should have a new parenting style that suits our child the most. Okay, so the first parenting tips is say no to comparison. As we know, our older generation really likes to compare their child. They will say, why can't you get 100%? Why can't you be like Ali? Ali is very good in mathematics. Why can't you be like him? Okay, so actually this comparison is not good at all, because the child will lack of confidence, the child will feel sad. So in order to avoid comparison, we should actually identify our child interests. We should see if the child is more towards this subject, so we should encourage them, we should give more support. Okay, so we cannot compare the child because every child is unique and they have their own strength. Second tip is be the best parent. Okay, we should know the first school of the child is at home, and we as the parents is the teachers. If we want our child to be a good child, we should first teach them how to be a good person. Okay, how to present ourselves in the public, how to greet parents, how to greet others. Okay, so if we are the parents, especially the fathers, is the smokers, and the child see the action of we smoke every day, so we can expect the child to turn out to be a smoker as well. In order to avoid that, please be careful in front of your child. Take care of how you react at home, how you behave, okay, how you take care of the child, because the child will observe everything. Next tip is check your environment and child's emotion. If we as the parent have ensured that our environment is the best for the child, why don't we check for the child's school? Because that's where the child spend most of the time instead of at home. Okay, we should engage more with the school. Older generation don't really engage with the school. Okay, they just send their child at school and that's it. Okay, as we are living towards more the futures, we should ask more about our child's development at school because we might miss something. Okay, in order to not miss anything, we should ask the teachers how our child is doing at school, how they are behaving, how their relationship with other child and with the teachers also. Okay, because we don't want our child to be a bully, okay, a vandalism person at school. No, okay, so we should check with the school. The last tip is stop underestimating your child and start to understand them. Okay, we can expect the child to understand us because they are still small. So we as the adults should understand our child small and we should know what are their strengths, what are their interests. Okay, I know some parents have a very high expectation for the child. For example, they want the child to be a doctor, but we can see the child is more towards the business. They like to engage with others. They like monies. So since we have seen that, so we should not force our interest towards them. We should follow what the child wants. So far, I have listed 4 parenting tips that is useful for parents. The first one is say no to comparison. Be the best parent. Check your child's environment and stop underestimating your child, but try to understand them. So based on these 4 parenting tips, I think the most useful tips is try to understand your child. Because if we start to understand the child, we can know what the child wants, we can know how to manage the child, we can know how to take care of the child. Please love your child. I know parenting is very hard, but seeing the child's growth is worth it, right? So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Sakinah binti Subri and my metric number is 1918198. So today I will review a movie. It is an impressive comedy and family melodrama about a man who is handicapped. Actually, he is mentally retarded. He was imprisoned for murder and he became friendly with the criminals in cell number 7. The movie named Miracles in Cell Number 7. It is a story about a handicapped father where he lives happily with his own daughter and he works in a parking lot at a supermarket. However, one day when the police commissioner's daughter gets into an accident, he was trying to make a CPR to the police commissioner's daughter who are lying down on the street unconsciously. But there's a woman who are passed by the street assume that the handicapped father, Yonggu, his name is Yonggu, trying to sexual assault the daughter. So she ends up calls the police. However, the handicapped father cannot refute the claim because he is not able to speak well. Fortunately, Yonggu is able to see his daughter in a concert for prisoners from the child institution. So he brings his own child into the jail.
네가 예수야?
But the fact that this story where the head of prison knows that Yongbu is innocent, but he cannot tell anything due to the power of the police commercial department itself. For me, overall, this story is basically, it really leaves a huge impact to the audience, where the relationship between the handicapped father and also his daughter, where the daughter is trying her best to pursue his study in law school just to prove his father's innocent. Personally, I would rate 5 over 5 for the movie, because overall the plot, the movie, the values, the chemistry, everything is combined in a spectacular way, where the bond between the father and the daughter is clearly can be seen in the movie. It is really worth 2 hours of time to watch this movie. And I think that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nursyada Adlina binti Zulkifli. So for this assignment that have been assigned in Family Management and Parenting course, I will do a review about this one article entitled Single Parenting, Fewer Negative Effects on Children Behavior Than Claim. So I became interested with this article as we always heard that children with single parent will always have much more problem or negative behavior, but this article goes again with what we always heard. So we begin with the definition of single parenting. Single parenting is a parent that raises up their child or children alone without a partner. The reason for this can be vary, whether they have been divorced or one of the partner might pass away or been summoned to an active job. So in this article, it emphasizes more on externalized and internalized behavioral problem of single parenting on children. First, it has been reported that the children with single parents have more externalized behavioral problem than the children with dual parents. Externalized behavioral problem is a behavior associated with the absence of emotion control, such as being aggressive, acting out, or destroying property, and this could be result of the single parents have higher stress levels, which might be because of the problem that they face, such as loneliness, financial problems, and many more, and they relieve their stress or anger to their child and use a bit harsher disciplining method when interacting with their child. So as a result, their children or child will be more aggressive. However, despite the negative effects, there is also a positive effect, which is the bonding between the mother and a child, or a father and a child, will be much stronger, as spending one-on-one time with the child will create a unique bond which one in the nuclear family cannot have. On the other hand, it also has been reported that the children with single parent also have more internalized behavioral problem than the children with dual parents. The internalized behavioral problem is the behavior that is associated with excessive emotional control, such as depression, anxiety, withdrawal, and many more. However, it also has been found that there is no significant difference between the children with single parent or the children with dual parents on self-esteem, health scales, social competency, extracurricular activity, and many more. So it has been very individual not only focus on the children with single parents. In conclusion, whether have been growing up in single parent home or dual parent home, there is always a pros and cons, and we must always be grateful to be born in this world, as nothing in this world will be perfect. And do not only see the negative side or bad side of the single parenting. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurina Maisara, and today I will be doing a book review. Okay, the book that I will be reviewing today is titled Anakku Hebat, Anakku Soleh by Datuk Dr. Zahza Muhammad. And this book has around 200 pages and 6 chapters. Okay, first of all, I will go through each chapter briefly. First chapter, which is kepentingan dan cara mendidik anak. Okay, on this chapter, the writer really emphasizes on how Islam really insists that having a child is more than just being a parent. It is beyond that. And in Islam, children have many rights upon themselves, and this book really gives a detailed explanation on that. And on the second part of this chapter, the book explains the way to teach children about Islam by each stage of children age. Okay, on the second chapter, which is siapakah yang bertanggungjawab dalam mendidik generasi, this chapter tells us that not just parents that need to teach Islam to children, but also the responsibility is on the school institution, the teachers, and even the most institution. Okay, the third chapter, aspek-aspek pertarbiyaan, which tells the important aspect that need to be taken into account upon giving Islamic education to the child. Next, the fourth chapter, membentuk minat dan kemahiran anak-anak. Okay, this chapter really stress about the challenges on instilling Islamic education to child and how the parents can know the child better, which is by analyzing their behavior and their needs. In the fifth chapter, which is pergaulan dengan anak-anak, the writer really highlight about why harshness is a bad idea when interacting with children. But of course, the correct ways of interacting with child that is in line with Islamic teaching are also inserted. Lastly, for the final chapter, which is wasiat dan doa pilihan buat anakku, in this chapter there are famous advices like for example 10 pieces of advices that Prophet Luqman gave to his son, and many more famous advices in Islam. And in the last few pages of this chapter, they put some du'as that can be practiced, like doa after the birth of a baby, or doa when a child is fluent in speaking, and many more. Personally, I think this book is very suitable for young parents or first-time parents, as this book covers many important points that play important roles in parenthood. And the explanation in this book is also given in a quite detailed manner, yet the writer uses very easy language to understand. This is good because not all parents have a high education background, right? And furthermore, the fonts are not too small, and the book is full of colors, and the content in most of the pages are like separated in different parts, which allow for easy reading. And there are also many illustrations and real life pictures, so I think the kids or the teenagers themselves would be attracted to read this book, and they can gain new knowledge in an enjoyable way or manner. Okay, what I would really like to pinpoint is there are many Quranic verses and hadiths that are inserted, and this really strengthens the contents that are presented in this book. And there are also many sirah, like the stories of Sahaba and Prophets, that are related to parenting and child's Islamic education. Certainly, parents can really benefit from this, as they can relay the stories to their children in the future. And next, the writer also give light to the Western view apart from the Islamic view on parenting. Like for example, from the psychology perspective, the opinion of Sigmund Freud on child's freedom of action is also inserted in this book. Okay, another point to add, I really like how the book starts off with the importance of parents taking care of their amanah towards their children, and it ends with like the advices, the wasiat and the du'as that can be practiced, and it is like quite a good combination of starting and ending, I think, because like the start is start with something like very strong, and it ends with something that is hopeful and can be motivating for parents, and that kind of left an impression on me. Yeah. Okay, so as a conclusion, I would really recommend this to parents, whether new or old parents, as parenthood is indeed an everlasting journey that requires learning and modeling and also new experiences. And this book can really ease parents on their responsibility to teach Islam to their children in the way that is correct and demanded in Islam. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Nurliana binti Muhammad Yunus. Today I want to share with all of you a review about a very heartwarming and emotional movie that holds very good manifestation about relationship within family. Actually, this movie is quite popular and I'm sure many of you have watched this before. Basically, this movie is about an intellectually impaired father named Lee Yong-gu who was wrongfully accused and sentenced to death for a rape murder case of an elementary school girl. The reason the title is Miracle because the father miraculously able to have series of meeting and reunion with his daughter Yesung while in the prison, and because the father, the inmates and the daughter are able to despite being in the cell number 7. This is a Korean movie directed by Lee Hwan-kyung, and among the actors are Kang So-won, who played the character of young Yesung, and also Park Shin-hye, who played the adult version of Yesung. This movie brings several themes, but the theme that I would like to highlight is the love between a mentally ill father and his loving daughter. We can see how the father manifests his love towards his daughter in so many ways. Firstly, despite having these abilities, he still works hard to save money to buy a Sailor Moon bag for Yesung. He will bring Yesung to the shop every single day because Yesung wanted that bag so much. And on the day they were supposed to buy that bag, other family unfortunately buy that Sailor Moon bag first. Then, the father, Lee Yong-gu, insists that the bag belongs to Yesung and try to get it back, which led to him being beaten several times by the other girl's father, who is also a police commissioner. Another event where we can see how the father manifests his love towards his daughter is when he is willing to take the blame for killing the schoolgirl. Actually, that wasn't his fault, but the police officer promised him that they would let him to meet his daughter again if he take the blame. And without knowing that he is being used, he chose to do so. In his last trial of verdict, Lee Yong-gu once again confessed that he is the killer. Actually, during that time, he already prepared himself to prove his innocence, but the police commissioner threatened him, and because Lee Yong-gu was afraid that the police commissioner will hurt Yesung, he confessed to the crime because he is willing to do anything for the sake of his daughter, even if that means sacrificing his own life. We can also see how the daughter shows her deep love towards her father. Yesung actually never sees her father differently despite the disability that her father had. During that time when her father was being detained and didn't come home, she was very worried and she kept waiting for him. She also didn't like it when other people treat her father badly.
The movie also covers the daughter's journey to clear her father's name since she was still young until she grown up to become a lawyer that defend her father's case. On another perspective, we can see that the deep loving relationship between family members could never be severed despite living in a place that is so scary and somber. We can also see the different way of how a man reacts to the loss of their children. The chief of the prison knows the pain of being separated from his own child. He doesn't want others to experience the same, so he tries to reunite both father and daughter. He also chooses to adopt Yasung and treat her the way he would have treated his son if his son is still alive. Meanwhile, the police commissioner chooses to hurt others and want them to suffer the way he suffered from losing his daughter. In conclusion, the movie really shows good communication, interaction, and deep love between family members despite having disability and also unpleasant circumstances. Therefore, I would like to recommend all of you to watch this family movie, and I hope you will be able to enjoy it as much as I do. That's all from me. With that, I thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Atika binti Hamidun, and today I'm going to review a movie, Coco. So Coco was released in around 2017 to 2018.
I am not like the rest of my family. There's something that makes me different. Great-great-grandfather, I want to be a musician just like you.
All right, who's in there?
I'm sorry.
Welcome to the land of your ancestors.
Miguel?
We're your family. You're skeletons.
You're alive!
You've gotta get home before sunrise or you'll be stuck here forever.
Ugh.
Security!
Hurry, come on!
It's showtime!
You, my boy, are meant to be a musician.
I must follow my heart.
I am trying to save your life.
Nice kitty.
Miguel, something's mattered more than music.
Sorry. We may have our differences, but nothing's more important than family. I'm proud we're family!
Go away, you! Go!
It's just Dante.
Never name a street dog. They'll follow you forever. Now, go get my shoe.
Coco is a story of a Mexican young boy, Miguel, who is an ambitious musician among families whose music is banned because of his great-great-grandfather abandoned his family to pursue his musical career, and he never returned. Generations passed, but the musician's betrayal was never forgotten or forgiven, and since then no one in the family were allowed to do anything related to music, so that history will not repeat itself.
No music! No music!
On the Day of the Dead, Miguel had decided to participate in a music competition. According to the Mexican belief, the Day of the Dead is the day where the disease was allowed to come back from the other side, which is the land of the dead, to visit their relative, as long as the picture of the disease is hanging. Okay, so in order for Miguel to participate in that competition, he needs an instrument to play. So he decided to go into the grave of Ernesto de la Cruz, who is his idol, and stole the guitar there. And due to his action, Miguel was being transported to the land of the dead.
All right, who's in there?
I'm sorry. What's going on? I'm just dreaming.
Do you mind?
Welcome to the land of the dead.
If he hopes to return to the land of living, it will involve reconnecting with his deceased relative there, and also tracking down Ernesto de la Cruz himself. Little did he know, during his unexpected visit to the land of the dead, he will discover and reveal another side of story about his great-great-grandfather who abandoned his family. Okay, that's all for the synopsis of this movie. I don't want to give any spoiler to those who haven't watched it yet. Okay, so what I like about this movie is that the director tries to emphasize the importance of family in our life. The family and legacy are expressed through the storytelling and song. One of the most fascinating things about this film is how it builds up its plot around Miguel and his family. And then throughout this movie, the statement nothing is more important than family is constantly repeated. So the director tried to convey that no matter what happens in our life, family should come first. And sometimes we may have to make sacrifice for the sake of our family. Okay, so this movie also highlighted that family will always guide us, and as a family, we should always support each other, no matter in whatever situation it is. And then, at the near end of the film, one of the Miguel's deceased ancestors tell him to never forget how much your family loves you.
Never forget how much your family loves you.
So, this film delivers the unmistakable message that it is both important to cherish our family here and also to remember the one that have passed away. In Islam, we can recite Al-Fatihah to our deceased family members to indicate that we remember them. So the other things that make this movie interesting is that the main song for this movie, which is Remember Me, is repeated throughout the movie, and each time it is played, it seems to have different and deeper meaning. So overall, Coco is a deep and thoughtful tale about family, sacrifice, love, patience, and also the journey of Miguel to follow his dream. So in short, this movie's main point is that families should always belong together. So this film may bring tears in your eyes if you are a very emotional person.
Remember me, though I have to say goodbye.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Hadis Nadia binti Hazairi, metric number 1918816. So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Yusof for this assignment, as I got to share one of my all-time favorite movies. So let's get to know about it, shall we? The movie's name is Wonder, which was released in 2017, starring well-known actors such as Julia Roberts, Owen Wilson, Jacob Tremblay, and many others. The film emphasizes on the story of a boy named August Wilman, Augie, who had Treacher-Collins syndrome or facial deformities. He was trying to fit in with his new surrounding of being in a private school when he was previously homeschooled by his mother. He struggled during the first days of enrollment when he was outcasted and being stared at for his looks. Later, he started to bond with Jack, whom then became his best friend. This movie develops into portraying their friendship. Not only that, it also focuses on the story of each character, which made me fall in love with this film. For example, a scene of the movie presented the backstory of Augie's mother, who had sacrificed her passion and career for her child. There was also Via, Augie's eldest sister, who had hidden feelings of being the first child and had to give in her parents' attention as they catered to her brother's needs since he was born. Despite all that, there's a very great symbolic of how a sibling should be. Owen Wilson also did a wonderful job in portraying the character of Augie's father, as they were mixed elements of humor and affection which gave a spark to the father and son bond. One of the messages that I learned from this movie is communication. Whenever there are conflicts, the Pullman's family would talk and they would resolve into understanding one another.
they would also have small talks regarding how each other's day was. On the other hand, the movie shows that neglectful parenting would lead to a child become problematic. For instance, Julian was a bully who harassed Augie by calling him ugly and sending death messages. When his parent was called to school, instead of punishing him for his wrongdoings, they defended him and blaming the fault on having Augie in the school. Not to put all the blame on parents, but most cases of problematic children is in fact due to the way they are raised. So all in all, I would definitely recommend this film as it conveys the value of family and friendship. But be prepared with a box of tissue because you would definitely need it. Before I end this video, I would like to share a line from the movie.
Mrs. Albans, Augie can't change the way he looks. So, maybe we can change the way we see.
Hello and assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to the movie review that made by me, Nurul Izzati binti Yusof. So today I will reviewing the movie about the family, which is the game plan. This is actually my favorite movie. This movie is tell us the story about the man, which is rap superstar counterback, the Joe Kingsman, that starred by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whose Boston-based team is chasing the championship for the rugby competition. So what can I say, that Joe has a very good life, a very fantastic life, such as he's really rich, he has a good career, he has fun, and also the women outside there are pursuing him to be her boyfriend. And then the good life that he has been through is being sadly sacked of a loss when he discovered that he has a 8-year daughter from his previous wife, and his daughter name is Peyton. When he has proved that the Peyton is his real daughter, he tried his best to use a parenting style in his life, but he feels miserably in parenting. So during the most important time in his career, he must think how to juggle his life with a new things like ballet class, like a bedtime story, and also the dolls that came from Peyton. And there was a lot of problems when Peyton arrived to his house, and when he wants to take care of Peyton, like he has to sacrifice his time to practice the rugby and change to accompany his daughter to the class ballet. This story is actually about the father and the daughter relationship, and Joe has discovered in the end of the movie, he had discovered that there's more precious thing than money in the life, which is care and love from his children itself. So Joe realized that the single life is not good as have a family life. Okay, so this is a little bit summary that I can explain to all of you. That's why I like this movie. This is because of this movie have a lot of moral value that we can take especially to a family who has been a single mother or single father. So first is love. Love toward father and daughter. For example, Peyton showed her love toward her father, which is helping him to wipe his mouth. So this action is show that Peyton loves so much his father. Next is caring toward 2%, which is when Peyton had an allergy to the nuts. Joe rushed carrying Peyton and ran to the nearest clinic because he really worried and cared toward Peyton. He doesn't want anything to happen to Peyton. So then, support. Father and daughter had support toward each other. Like in the end of the movie, and Peyton come back to the Joe's side and support him to not give up in the game, because before this, when Peyton leave him, he want to give up everything, like the game. He doesn't have any strength to play the game. And when his daughter come and support him, he get back the strength to play. And at last, the miracle happened, and the Boston win the game. So the support is very important to us as a family. If we don't have a support, how can we strive the life, right? And then lastly is responsibility. He still tried to do the responsibility toward his daughter. So that is various moral value that I share to all of you. I hope that you can apply it in your daily life with your family. So I hope that you have time to watch this movie, because when you watch this movie, you can see the family relationship is very important to every single person in the world. If they don't have any family, how can they strive the best in their life, right? So that's all from me. Thank you. Have a good day.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Marda binti Khairul Anwar. So I will review an article about parenting, and I hope that you can enjoy it. So the article that I choose is the parents as the first teacher, creating an enriched home learning environment. This article was written by Abelardo Villarreal. So basically, we always read articles about how to help school personnel reform their practice in order to improve children in education. But in this article, it is literally talking about a role of parents as a teacher to their children. So the purpose of this article that was mentioned by the author is for parents for use in parenting workshop in improving learning opportunities during their children's formative years, which is at the age of 3 to 5 years old. So the author thinks that those age is the best age for children to learn more and gain knowledge, because by the age of 5, children already start to expose with school life. The author mentioned that there are 3 major tasks that parents can do to improve the learning environment at home. The first one is parents should learn more about how children learn. Basically, parents need to understand their children better in order to give some learning towards them. So the author discussed what parents should do and what parents should avoid to improve children's learning process. Second is parents should establish a vision and goals. Visions mean that how the parents view their child in future. And in order to make the vision become reality, parents have to set some goals. The last one is parents should reflect and plan and enrich learning home environment. Basically, this is the major task that parents should do for the improvement of the home learning environment. Parents need to do some checklist that provides activities that will promote positive home learning environment towards their children. So here I attached the example of checklist that the author put in the article. So yeah, I have briefed a little bit about the content of the article, and the things that I like about the article is the way how the author shows the importance of the role of parents as the first teacher to their children. And even though the pages of the article is quite many, but the way the author delivered it is easy to understand and very detailed. And I am sure every parents have their own way to give learning to their child. But then all the different ways just lead to the only one reason, which is to do the best for their child. So before I ended my video, I want to share some Quran verse from Surah Al-Anfal, verse 27 to 28. So this ayat telling us that children also a test, and educating them is a sign of our devotion to Allah. So parents should play an important role in ensuring that their children are educated in Islamic teachings, even though there is a time of crisis, or even though it may be very difficult to implement it to a child, but parents should be aware that all they do is count on worship and be rewarded with Allah. So I think that's all from me, and I really hope that you can enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
My name is Putri Nurkalisa binti Megat Khairi Azman. My matric number is 1914790. So today I will be reviewing about a Korean movie with the title of Hope that had been released on 2013. So basically, in this movie is about a family who struggle in finding justice and hope for their daughter that had been raped by a drunk man when she is on her way to her school. So So-woon, the girl that had been raped by the drunk man, had a very bad trauma, and she became a very shy girl towards all men, and including her father. So in this movie, I want to highlight about how So-woon's father tried to meet his own daughter in the hospital, since So-woon had a very bad trauma and very shy towards him. The part that I really like is when So-woon's father rent an old costumes, a cartoon costumes named Kokomon, and wear it during his visits time. And even though So-woon does not recognize who is the wearer, but sometimes So-woon had the instincts that the wearer of the costume is her father. Based on this event, I want to relate a little bit with Islam, where in Islam, the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him and his family, has said that whoever has or is around children should play with them as a child. So whatever your character when you with your children or with other people's children, we must treat like we are a child too, and we must to change our character. If we are a strict person, we must in a character of a child. Other than that, before So-woon came back to the school, actually So-woon's father had already met with So-woon's homeroom teacher at the school to change to ask for a favor to change all the male teachers to a female teacher, because So-Woon's father wanted to prevent all men surround his daughter. And last but not least, how So-Woon's parents taught her the use of her mobile phone, because after the incident happened to So-Woon, the one that called the emergency line to report the incident is So-Woon herself. And it is amazing when an 8-year-old child call the emergency line to get a help. So that's all from me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Farzana Natasha binti Ani. In this short video, I would like to review about this one book that is very interesting and very worth to read. The book title is Unbreakable: How to Prepare Yourself for a Strong Relationship. This book was written by Aiman Azlan, a famous writer in Malaysia. Okay, this is the book. As you can see here, the cover of the book is very beautiful, simple, and the image here reflects the key theme that is very relevant to this book. And in this book, the author encourages us to change our perspective when it comes to love and relationship. The author tells us that love and relationship is not something that we fall into, but it's something that we need to prepare and work for. And when the reader reads this book, they also can clearly see that there is a difference between falling in love and staying in love. Not does this book only provides practical steps towards managing love, but it also guides the readers on how to embrace and navigate the emotional aspect of living a relationship, so that love can withstand the test and challenge of life. Focus more on self-improvement actually, like how can we be the best version of ourselves for our future unborn children. Thus, this book is very recommended for people who want to get married. Although you are single like me, you can also read this book as a preparation for the future. And to those who already got married also can read this book and recall what happened when they first choose and search for their life partner. Now I will share a little bit about the content of this book. This book has two parts. The first part is more about the guideline. For example, a way to know our partner by ta'aruf, a way to deal with parental involvement, and many more. And the second part is more about the issues that are commonly asked by people. For example, the issues about should we confess to our crush, the issues about partner keep on doing things that we don't like, and few more issues. The interesting part about this book is that after every chapter, there is a summary of the chapter itself. In every words, the point section, the chapter is summarized into bullet points, so even after finishing the books, one can flip open to the part easily for easy reference without having to read everything again. And the author also uses simple English so it can be understandable to read. And this book also has many quotes that can make the reader so in love with this book. And one of the quotes that I love to remind myself is parenting starts before marriage, and the first child you will raise is yourself. How you are now as a person is reflective of the kind of parent you will be in the future. Sure, people can change, you too can change, but the change has to start now. I love to keep on reminding myself about these grades so that I can change myself to be the best version of me for my future unborn children. Overall, I can say that this book is beautifully written from the very beginning till the end. I love the explanation that the author wrote, I love the analogies that he made, and I love the sources that he attached. And the price of this book is reasonable, only 28 ringgit for very informative content. So if you are interested and you want to buy it, you can buy it from online, for example from Imam Shop Bookstore, or you can also buy from any bookstore near your house. I think that's all from me. Thank you, have a nice day, and Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shahira binti Mat Zaini. Based on the course title Family Management and Parenting, today I'm going to review about one of my favorite movie, which is Inside Out.
Riley, how was the first day of school?
Fine, I guess.
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did.
Something's wrong.
Signal the husband.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say? Oh, sorry, sir. No one was listening. Is it garbage night? We left the toilet seat up. What is it, woman? What?
I'm joy. This is sadness. That's anger.
What?
This is disgust. And that's fear. We're Riley's emotions. These are Riley's memories. They're mostly happy, you'll notice, not to brag. I wanted to maybe hold more. What happened? Sadness?
She did something to the memory.
Is everything okay?
I don't know.
Take it back, Joy.
Trying. Joy, no, wait.
The core memories.
No.
Can I say that curse word now?
Based on this movie, there are a lot of moral values that I learned. Firstly, I learned that communication is not the key, but the comprehension is. Even though the communication works normally between people, but if they are not stressing the important issues in that conversation, then the communication has no point. For example, in this movie, Riley talks normally to her parents without expressing that she is actually sad ever since she has to move to a new town. Therefore, her parents do not realize and assume that Riley behaves normally. So here we need to remember that communication only works when the important issues are mentioned in that conversation. Secondly, I learned that it is okay to not be okay. In this movie, Riley is known as a happy-go-lucky girl where most of her time spent growing up in happiness. Therefore, she refuses to express her sad feelings towards her parents as she does not want to burden them. We as a family have to share and cherish all the moments together regardless happy or sad. It is okay to tell our problems to our family, even the smallest thing, because they are all matters. Don't worry if the problem might be a burden to our family, because that's how family works. Family are always there to help and comfort each other. Lastly, I learned that family is not about the place. Instead, it is about the individual itself. Regardless of where we live at, what country we live in, and how ugly our houses are, they are not the point. The real point is the members of the family. We make memories with our family, so the memories will stay within our family, not the place. The place is just a physical place. In this movie, Riley feels very sad and disappointed after she moves into a new town with her parents. She feels that her old house is where her family belongs, where all the good and valuable memories built from. Instead, she needs to remember that memory will never fade away as long as she remembers, and the family will make the memory become even more stronger. That's all of my review about Inside Out movie. Thank you for watching.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shaira binti Muhammad Taufik. Today I will make a movie review. So I choose a movie with the title Miracle in Cell Number 7. It's a Turkish film that I watched a week ago. So I will tell a little bit of the summary of the movie. The movie tells the story of the relationship between a girl called Ova and her dad Memo, who has a cognitive disorder. They live happily, but then Memo is wrongly accused of killing a high-ranking military official's daughter. Memo ends up being sent to jail for the crime that he didn't commit. Ova tries her best to find the witness the military daughter did not die because of her dad, but she was died because of an accident. So her dad, grandmother and teacher helped her during the process to find the proof in order to take her dad out of the jail. However, the process failed. Her dad needs to be executed. Luckily, there are another prisoners, Yusuf Aga, that volunteered took his place as he realized that Memo need to be reunited with his daughter Ova. After being assisted out of jail, Memo and Ova are reunited and sail away on a boat together to start a new life in a different country. So what I have learned from this movie is this movie showed the love between a father and a daughter. The father had to sacrifice for his daughter. At the beginning of the movie, his daughter had request to buy a bag that she saw from a random store. They went inside the store and asked about the price. However, his dad could not afford to buy the how expensive bag. But when he went back home, he tried his best to find a way to buy the bag for his daughter. He works really hard and he used his salary to buy it just to make his daughter happy. So beside that, what I learned is it made me realize about the importance of being kind toward others. Memo and his friend are really kind. They always help other people. From this movie, Ova needs to be executed, but other prisoners, which is Memo's friend, volunteers to take his place and he wants to help him. He knows that her daughter needs to him as she lived alone after her grandmother died. Besides, it shows the love of daughter towards his father. Her father, after Memo has cognitive, even though Memo has cognitive problem, his daughter friends always said something bad towards his dad. However, Ova just ignored it and she is not ashamed to have father like Memo, who is really lovely and kind-hearted. So overall, the movie is very interesting as it gives many morals that I learned from it. Even though it is a very sad movie, I get a message from this movie. It shows the importance of family in someone's life. Thank you.